gelato, and the fountain. The roar of the crowd hit Lily like a physical force, a wall of noise that swallowed her whole. She clutched her phrasebook tighter, its worn cover damp with sweat. Rome. It was magnificent, undeniably, but right now, standing at the edge of the Trevi fountain, it felt more overwhelming than inspiring. Tourists jostled for position, cameras flashing, their voices a cacophony of different languages all vying for dominance. She had imagined this moment for months, poring over pictures, reading travel blogs, picturing herself throwing a coin into the turquoise water and making a wish. The reality was a chaotic scramble for personal space, and Lily, armed with her meticulously planned itinerary and a heart full of naive optimism, felt utterly unprepared. The gelato, a swirl of pistachio and hazelnut, was melting faster than she could eat it. Its creamy sweetness was supposed to be a moment of pure Roman bliss, but instead, it was threatening to drip onto her brand-new sandals. She shuffled forward, trying to find a less congested spot to admire the fountain, but only managed to bump into a woman with a designer handbag, earning herself a withering glare. "Scusey," Lily mumbled, her cheeks burning. She took another frantic lick of her gelato, the sugary taste doing little to soothe her anxiety. The fountain itself was breathtaking, Neptune and his mythical creatures frozen in a perpetual state of dramatic action, the water shimmering under the Roman sun. But even its beauty was lost in the overwhelming sensory overload. She felt a pang of disappointment. This wasn't how she had imagined it. Suddenly, a voice cut through the noise. "Excuse me, signorina? Would you mind taking a photo?" Lily turned to see a young man with dark, tousled hair and a mischievous glint in his eyes. He was holding out his phone, a wide smile plastered across his face. He wore a simple white t-shirt and jeans, and there was something undeniably charming about his easy demeanor. "Oh, sure," Lily stammered, relieved to have a purpose, a distraction from the swirling chaos in her mind. She carefully balanced her gelato in her left hand and took the phone with her right. "Just point and shoot." "Perfetto." He grinned, striking a pose in front of the fountain, one arm casually draped around a stone triton. "Make me look good, eh?" Lily laughed, a genuine, spontaneous sound that surprised even herself. She snapped a few photos, trying to frame the shot just right, then handed him back his phone. "Here you go. I think you're already doing a pretty good job of that." He chuckled, checking the photos. "Molto grazie. You have a good eye. I'm Marco, by the way." He extended his hand. "Lily," she replied, shaking his hand, her gelato threatening to topple over. "Lily," he repeated, testing the sound of her name. "Welcome to Rome, Lily. Are you enjoying the madness?" He gestured towards the throng of tourists with a wry smile. "It's a lot," Lily admitted, taking another desperate lick of her gelato. "More than I expected." Marco's eyes flicked to her melting gelato, then back to her face. "Ah, you are fighting a losing battle with the Italian sun. Tell me, Lily, are you here to find yourself, or to find the perfect Instagram shot?" A Roman holiday snap. The shutter clicked. Marco lowered his arms, a wide, almost self-conscious grin plastered on his face. "Perfetto. Grazie mille." He gestured for Lily to come closer, his dark eyes crinkling at the corners. "Let me see if you captured my good side. It's a rare sight, you know." Lily, flustered, shuffled towards him, the strap of her camera bag digging into her shoulder. The Roman sun felt hotter suddenly. On the small screen, Marco beamed, the Colosseum rising majestically behind him. "It's good," she managed, feeling her cheeks burn. "Very Roman." He chuckled, a warm, rumbling sound. "Very Roman. I like that." "You have a way with words, signorina." He handed back the camera, his fingers brushing hers. A jolt, like static electricity, shot up her arm. She stumbled back slightly, nearly tripping over a discarded gelato wrapper. "Just Lily," she mumbled, bending to pick up the offending paper. "Marco. And please, don't clean up after everyone. They are animals, these tourists." He winked, but there was a hint of something else there, a fleeting weariness that vanished as quickly as it appeared. Lily smoothed the wrinkles from the wrapper and tossed it into a nearby bin. I don't mind. Someone has to. Marco's gaze drifted to the well-worn travel guide peeking out of her bag. Lonely Planet? Ah, so you are exploring our chaotic city. How long are you here? A week, Lily said, surprised by his interest. It's overwhelming, but amazing. She clutched the guidebook a little tighter. It felt like a shield against the intensity of Rome, and Marco's sudden attentiveness. A week is nothing. You'll only see the postcard Rome. The Colosseum, the Trevi Fountain, the pizza places designed only for tourists. He made a face. You need the real Rome. The Rome the tourists never see. Lily raised an eyebrow. Oh? And how does one find this real Rome? He leaned closer, his voice dropping conspiratorially. I could show you. If you like. There's a place, not far from here. Up high. You can see the whole city. The Janiculum Hill. The view, è bellissima. He paused, studying her face. If you trust a complete stranger, of course. Lily hesitated. Her carefully planned itinerary, filled with museums and churches, flashed before her eyes. This was exactly the kind of impulsive thing she never did. But the idea of seeing a secret Rome, a Rome beyond the guidebooks, was undeniably appealing. Plus, there was something about Marco's easy charm, a vulnerability beneath the bravado, that she found surprisingly disarming. Is it safe? She asked, the question sounding weaker than she intended. Marco threw his head back and laughed. Safe? This is Rome. Nothing is safe. But I promise I won't let any gladiators attack you. Unless you want me to. He winked again. Seriously though, yes. It's perfectly safe. Just a bit of a walk. Lily bit her lip, her mind racing. This was crazy. She shouldn't. But. Okay, she said, the word barely audible. Okay, I'll trust you. Secret views and whispered stories. Marco steered Lily away from the Trevi Fountain, its Baroque extravagance a chaotic backdrop for a sea of selfie sticks. Too much, he declared, wrinkling his nose. Rome is not just postcards and gelato. He tugged her down a narrow cobblestone street, the buildings leaning close, whispering secrets in faded ochre and terracotta. Where are we going? Lily asked, clutching her purse a little tighter. The crowds thinned, replaced by the hum of Vespas and the clatter of shutters opening for the afternoon. To see the real Rome, Marco said with a wink. The Rome that doesn't pose for pictures. He led her through a maze of alleyways, each turn revealing a new vista, a hidden courtyard overflowing with geraniums, a tiny church bathed in golden light, a graffitied wall displaying surprisingly poignant street art. He pointed out details she would have missed, a carved gargoyle leering from a rooftop, a faded inscription above a doorway, the chipped paint on a vintage Fiat. That Fiat, Marco said, chuckling, belonged to my nonno. He used to drive it like a bat out of hell. Once, he drove it straight into a fountain. Not the Trevi, thankfully. A much smaller, less ambitious fountain. Lily laughed, the sound lighter than she felt it had been in days. Did he get in trouble? Trouble? My nana nearly killed him. She made him sleep on the sofa for a week. But he just kept saying, it was the car's fault. It has a mind of its own. He regaled her with more stories of his childhood, of playing football in the Piazza Navona until the police chased them away, of sneaking into the Colosseum at night, of the elaborate feasts his family prepared every Sunday. His words painted a vivid picture of a life steeped in tradition, chaos, and an undeniable sense of belonging. It sounds wonderful, Lily said quietly, feeling a pang of something she couldn't quite name. Envy, perhaps? Her own childhood in quiet suburban Connecticut felt pale in comparison. It is complicated, Marco admitted, his easy grin faltering slightly. My family, they have expectations. I'm supposed to take over the family restaurant. But, he trailed off, kicking a loose cobblestone. Lily waited, sensing a vulnerability beneath his usual bravado. But you don't want to? she prompted gently. He shrugged, avoiding her gaze. It's safe. Comfortable. But is that enough? She understood that feeling. The pull of security versus the yearning for something more. What do you want? She asked, the question hanging in the air between them. He looked at her then, his dark eyes searching. I don't know, he confessed. That's the problem. They walked in silence for a while, the sounds of the city fading into a gentle hum. Finally, Lily spoke. I grew up in a small town. Everyone knew everyone. My life was predictable. Like my restaurant, Marco said, a wry smile tugging at his lips. Exactly, Lily agreed. I spent most of my time reading. Books were my escape. I imagined myself having adventures, seeing the world, and now you are, Marco said, gesturing around them. Yes, but... She hesitated. It's different. I'm still watching from the sidelines. Like I'm reading someone else's story. Then write your own, Marco said, his voice surprisingly firm. Rome is full of stories waiting to be told. You just have to find them. The question that echoes. The Vespa coughed its way up the final incline, the Roman sun beating down on Lily's shoulders. Marco expertly maneuvered through a final hairpin turn, then killed the engine. Silence descended, broken only by the distant hum of the city. Echo, Marco announced, sweeping his arm towards the vista. The best view in Rome, and all for us. Lily gasped. They stood on a small, stone-paved overlook, a hidden gem tucked away from the tourist throngs. Before them, Rome unfolded in a breathtaking panorama. The terracotta rooftops cascaded down rolling hills, punctuated by the majestic domes of churches and the ancient ruins that whispered stories of emperors and gladiators. The air, thinner up here, smelled of pine and sun-baked stone. It's incredible, Lily breathed, her hand instinctively going to her chest. She felt a strange lightness, a feeling of being suspended between the earthly and the divine. The endless sky seemed to swallow her worries, if only for a moment. A young man, probably not much older than her, approached hesitantly. He clutched a phone, his brow furrowed in a universal expression of tourist anxiety. Excuse me, he said, his accent thick with what Lily thought was Dutch. Would you mind? He gestured towards the view, then to himself. Of course, Lily said, smiling. She took the phone, framed the shot carefully, and snapped a few pictures. He beamed. Grazie mille! It's magnifico! Prego, she replied, handing back the phone. Enjoy Rome. He nodded enthusiastically and hurried off, already scrolling through the pictures he'd just taken. Lily turned back to the view, feeling a renewed sense of awe. Marco leaned against the stone wall, watching her with an unreadable expression. The sunlight caught the gold flecks in his eyes. So, he said, pushing himself off the wall, Rome has rendered you speechless, huh? That takes some doing. Lily laughed, the sound light and airy in the open space. Almost. It's just. I feel so small here. In a good way, I think. Marco nodded slowly. He picked up a small, smooth stone and tossed it absently in the air. It does that to you. Makes you think about things. Big things. He paused, the stone still suspended in his hand. Then, he looked directly at Lily, his expression suddenly serious. The humor that usually danced in his eyes was gone, replaced by a quiet intensity that made her heart skip a beat. Lily, he said, his voice low, what is the biggest dream you're too afraid to chase? The question hung in the air, echoing in the vastness of the Roman landscape. It was so unexpected, so utterly out of the blue, that it took Lily a moment to process. Her breath caught in her throat. The lightness she had felt just moments before evaporated, replaced by a sudden, sharp pang of vulnerability. The question wasn't just about dreams, it was about fear, and the chasm between who she was and who she longed to be. She stared at Marco, searching his face for any hint of mockery or judgment, but found only genuine curiosity. The city stretched out before them, a silent witness to the unspoken truths that lay between them. The question, now planted, began to take root. Unspoken dreams. The late afternoon sun, a molten coin in the sky, gilded the Arno. Lily leaned against the stone railing of the Ponte Vecchio, the ancient bridge humming with a low thrum of tourists and the splashing of unseen currents below. She'd been trying to capture the light on the water with her phone, but the images all fell flat, failing to capture the magic shimmering before her eyes. Lost in thought? Marco's voice startled her, making her jump slightly. He leaned beside her, his own phone forgotten in his hand. Or just admiring the view? Both, I suppose, she mumbled, feeling a flush creep up her neck. She hated being caught daydreaming. A young tourist, barely out of his teens, approached, holding out his phone with a hopeful smile. Excuse me, would you mind taking a photo of me? Lily obliged, snapping a few pictures against the backdrop of the bridge's crowded shops. He thanked her profusely, then hurried off to rejoin his group. You're a natural, Marco teased, nudging her shoulder with his. Hardly, she said, fiddling with the strap of her bag. I always manage to cut off someone's head or get a blurry shot. He laughed, a warm sound that seemed to bounce off the stone. So seriously though, what were you thinking about? You had that faraway look. Lily hesitated. She didn't usually share her inner thoughts with anyone, let alone someone she just met a few days ago. Just things, she offered lamely. Marco didn't press, but his gaze remained fixed on her, an open invitation. The silence stretched, filled only with the sounds of the city. No, really, he said softly, his usual playful tone gone. Tell me. I'm curious. His sincerity, the genuine interest in his eyes, disarmed her. She took a deep breath. It's silly. Try me. She looked away, focusing on a family of ducks paddling serenely in the river below. I have this idea, she began, her voice barely a whisper. For a story. A novel, actually. The words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken dreams and a lifetime of self-doubt. She braced herself for his reaction, expecting polite amusement or, worse, outright dismissal. Instead, Marco remained silent, waiting. It's probably terrible. She rushed on, her cheeks burning. Just a fantasy I indulge in when I can't sleep. I'd never actually. She trailed off, unable to finish the sentence. The idea of actually writing it, of putting her thoughts and imaginings on paper for the world to see, was terrifying. Never actually what? Marco prompted gently. Lily swallowed hard. Never actually write it. A melody of fears. Gelato, rapidly liquefying, dribbled onto Marco's knuckles, a detail lost to his gaze fixed on the iridescent sea. A pensive cast, unfamiliar to Lily, shadowed his features. Spectacular, isn't it? She offered, hoping to pierce his reverie. He blinked, surfacing from his thoughts. Yeah, truly something. He laughed at the melting sweetness, a momentary distraction. A sigh then escaped him, a burden seemingly too vast for his normally buoyant spirit. Emboldened by their shared tranquility, Lily pressed. You're different tonight, Marco. What's weighing on you? A chuckle, hollow and unconvincing, was his reply. Me? Never. Just soaking in the vista, the company, and some top-tier gelato. He flicked the discarded cup into a nearby receptacle. The hollow clang echoed in the still evening. Marco, Lily murmured, you can confide in me. He thrust his hands deep into his pockets and began to stroll, Lily matching his pace. The gentle rhythm of waves kissing the harbor wall provided the only soundtrack. Finally he halted, his gaze meeting hers, now darkened with uncertainty. All right, fine. The truth is, I harbor a dream. He hesitated, searching for the right words. Probably a foolish one. Lily's brow furrowed. What sort of dream? Another pause. Music. I aspire to be a musician. Lily's eyebrows arched in surprise. Really? I hadn't a clue. She racked her brain, struggling to recall even a casual hum or whistle. It felt incongruous, envisioning the gregarious Marco bearing his soul through melody. Then again, perhaps not. It's a closely guarded secret, he confessed, his voice hushed. I've told no one. Except, now you, I suppose. Why the secrecy? He nudged a loose paving stone with his shoe. Because my family. They wouldn't understand. They have expectations. Lily pictured Sophia, his formidable grandmother, the family's unwavering center. She conjured her strong, etched face and her unwavering resolve. She could almost feel the weight of those unspoken demands. Sophia wants me to inherit the family legacy, the restaurant, you know? It's a tradition stretching back generations. It's what's expected. The word tasted like ash on his tongue. But you don't desire that path? He shook his head with fervor. No. I mean, I adore my family, truly. And I'm thankful for everything they've given me. But I simply can't envision myself spending a lifetime confined to a kitchen, however delectable the fare. He raked a hand through his hair, his frustration radiating outwards. So, what's holding you back? Lily inquired. His gaze drifted back to the water, the reflected lights from the anchored boats, shimmering like scattered jewels. Fear, I imagine. The specter of failure. The dread of disappointing them. Especially Sophia. She's always held such pride in me. I can't bear to let her down. His voice caught, the veneer of confidence finally cracking. What if I'm simply not talented enough? What if I devote myself to this and fail miserably? Then I'll have not only disappointed my family but also squandered my own potential. Echoes in the piazza. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the Piazza Navona, painting the Baroque sculptures in hues of orange and gold. Lily sat perched on the edge of the Fontana dei Quattro Fiumi, her worn copy of A Room with a View lying open in her lap, unread. Marco bounced a small rubber ball against the cobblestones, the rhythmic thud a counterpoint to the murmur of tourists. Nervous? Lily asked, her eyes following the ball's trajectory. Marco shrugged, catching the ball. Terrified. Same difference, no? He grinned, but the anxiety was evident in his eyes. Isabella's open mic night, it's a big deal for some people. You'll be great, Lily said, offering a small, encouraging smile. Your voice is amazing. Remember what you told me about overcoming your fear. He sighed, his usual bravado fading. Easy to say when you're not the one exposed. You ever feel like everyone else knows something you don't? Lily looked down at her book. All the time, she admitted quietly. I feel like I'm watching a movie about life, but I can never quite figure out how to get into the scene. Exactly, Marco exclaimed, snapping his fingers. Like we're standing on the edge, afraid to jump in. But you, Lily, you're starting to jump. This trip, it's good for you, I see it. Lily traced the worn cover of her book. Maybe. She paused, then said, almost to herself, I think I might try to write something. Marco stopped bouncing the ball. Write? Like a book? I don't know. Lily confessed, her cheeks flushing. Just something. All these stories swirling around in my head. Maybe it's time to let them out. The basilica bells chimed 6 o'clock, their resonant tones echoing through the piazza. That's incredible, Lily. You must. You have the mind for it. You see things others miss. He punched her playfully on the arm. You'd be a natural. Just don't put me in it as some tragic, lovesick fool, okay? Lily laughed, a genuine, unforced sound. No promises. The shared laughter felt good, a small victory over their anxieties. Speaking of facing fears, Lily continued, her voice gaining confidence. Isabella told me they need more performers tonight. You should sign up. Marco's eyes widened. Me? On stage? In front of actual people? You know I only sing in the shower and when Nana isn't listening. Exactly, Lily said, a mischievous glint in her eyes. Time to expand your audience. Think of it as research. Facing your stage fright. He groaned. Research for what? Premature heart failure? Research for being brave. Lily countered softly. And because your music makes people happy. You make people happy, Marco. He looked at her, really looked at her, and saw something in her eyes that made him hesitate. A quiet plea, a belief in him that he wasn't sure he deserved. He ran a hand through his already disheveled hair. All right, he said, the word barely audible. All right, maybe I'll go talk to Isabella. But if I faint on stage, you're catching me. Lily squeezed his arm. Deal. As Marco walked towards Isabella's music shop, Lily pulled out her notebook. The blank page stared back at her, daunting and exhilarating at the same time. She dipped the pen into her inkpot and began to write, the Piazza Navona fading into a backdrop as her own world began to take shape on the page. The echoes of Marco's nervous laughter, the distant strains of a guitar tuning, the gentle splash of the fountain, all of it found its way into her words, weaving a tapestry of hope and trepidation. Tonight, in the heart of Rome, both of them were finally ready to jump. The stage fright serenade. The day dawned, a sky bruised with the color of Marco's anxiety. He awoke to a leaden weight in his gut, each tick of the clock amplifying the dread of the looming open mic night. He'd haunted his cramped apartment all morning, his guitar a silent judge in its case. Gone was his usual easygoing chatter, replaced by a jittery energy that made him feel like a poorly tuned radio. Lily discovered him slumped over tepid coffee, his complexion ashen. Marco, you all right? She asked, her voice a gentle balm. He forced a smile, thin and brittle. Couldn't be better. About to bare my soul to a room full of strangers. What's the worst that could happen? Lily drew up a chair, her brow creased with concern. You're petrified, aren't you? Petrified? Lily, I think my great-grandparents are feeling this, and they're pushing up daisies. He raked fingers through his already untamed hair. What if I blank? What if my voice deserts me? What if they boo me off stage? Lily reached for his hand, her touch a surprising anchor. They won't boo, Marco. You're talented. Seriously. And even if you stumble, who cares? It's an open mic. It's supposed to be a lark. She paused. Besides, I'll be there. Leading the cheering squad. Isabella too. Her simple faith, her unspoken belief, chipped away at the tension. Thanks, Lil. That means a lot. Later, at the cafe, the air buzzed with a blend of anticipation and stage fright. Isabella, a whirlwind of her usual enthusiasm, spotted Marco and whisked him to a quieter alcove. You look like you're facing execution, Caro, she observed, a playful glint in her eyes. Feels like it, Marco confessed, collapsing into a chair. Isabella perched opposite him, her eyes sparkling. Listen, Marco. This isn't about hitting every note perfectly. It's about offering a piece of yourself. Your music. These folks are here to listen, to encourage. Don't dwell on potential disasters. Focus on the feeling, the pure joy of creation. She leaned in, her voice a conspiratorial murmur. Remember why you picked up that guitar in the first place? Was it to impress a crowd of faces, or was it to unleash what's inside? Marco's mind drifted back to his childhood, to evenings spent lost in music with his grandfather, the unadulterated pleasure radiating through the room. He'd almost forgotten that sensation, obscured by layers of worry and expectation. Isabella straightened, clapping her hands. Now, go out there and dazzle them. Unleash your passion. And if you flub a chord, laugh it off. Life's too short for such seriousness. She winked. Besides, I've already touted you as a musical genius, so you can't let me down now. Her words, combined with Lily's earlier solace, gifted him a surge of bravery. He squared his shoulders, inhaled deeply, and mustered a genuine smile. All right, Isabella. I'll do my best. As he headed toward the makeshift stage, guitar in hand, he met Lily's gaze. She offered a subtle, supportive nod. He returned it, a spark of hope flickering within. The knot in his stomach remained, but it loosened, less like a vice and more like a gentle reminder. He was still shaking in his boots, but the thought of playing his music was now the overriding emotion. Rome, reflections, and roads ahead. The aria's final note lingered, a golden thread suspended in the Roman atmosphere before dissolving into utter stillness. Then, the explosion of applause, not mere courtesy, but genuine fervor that resonated against the ancient courtyard stones. Marco, radiant under the stage lights, bowed deeply, a wide grin illuminating his face. His gaze met Lily's, a quick, undeniable spark passing between them. Her palms tingled from the enthusiastic clapping. A wave of pride, so unfamiliar it almost took her breath away, surged through her. He'd conquered the night. He'd laid bare his soul, and the audience had embraced him for it. She'd glimpsed a rare vulnerability, and in return, felt their connection deepen. No longer just a charming busker, he was a kindred spirit, a confidant, someone deeply cherished. Backstage dissolved into a joyous pandemonium. Marco was swallowed by well-wishers, his family radiating joy, his nana playfully pinching his cheeks while showering him with rapid-fire Italian endearments. Lily lingered by the doorway, content to observe the celebratory scene. Spotting her, Marco disentangled himself and drew her into an embrace. "Grazie, Lily, for being here." His voice, raspy with exertion, held a vibrant sincerity. "You were incredible, Marco." "Truly," she replied, meaning it with every fiber of her being. The revelry continued late into the night. Despite feeling slightly like an outsider amongst the boisterous Italian clan, Lily found herself swept up in their laughter and captivated by their warmth. A subtle ache resonated within her, knowing departure loomed with the dawn. The following day broke clear and dazzling. Lily stood on the age-worn cobblestones before her quaint hotel, her suitcase a silent sentinel at her side. The aroma of espresso mingled with the sharp tang of scooter exhaust in the air. Marco appeared, slightly breathless, a small clutch of sunflowers held gingerly in his hands. "For you," he offered with an endearing bashfulness. "A reminder of Rome." Lily accepted the vibrant blooms, their sunny faces a striking contrast against the somber gray architecture. "They're gorgeous, Marco." "Thank you." An awkward pause settled between them, thick with unspoken sentiments. Lily felt the pressure to articulate something profound, some eloquent summary of their brief but intense bond. Yet the words seemed trapped in her throat. Marco broke the quiet. "So you returned to England?" "Yes," Lily replied, nervously adjusting her bag strap. "Back to books, libraries, and serenity." He chuckled softly. "Perhaps you will carry a little of Rome back with you. A touch of its vibrancy, a spark of its passion." "Perhaps," she echoed, a smile gracing her lips. "And perhaps you'll visit England someday. I could introduce you to my tranquil world." He raised a brow, a playful light dancing in his eyes. "England, eh? I will have to master the art of proper tea drinking." They exchanged numbers, an implied promise of future contact hanging between them, delicate as spun glass. It felt tenuous, a slender thread bridging two disparate existences. Even so, Lily clung to it, willing it not to snap. As she settled into the taxi, she glanced back at Marco, standing on the curb, the Roman sun igniting highlights in his dark hair. He lifted a hand in farewell, a gesture laced with both hope and a subtle melancholy. Rome, she mused as the taxi pulled into traffic. It wasn't simply a destination, it was a crucible, a transformative experience. She was departing with more than just souvenirs, she carried a nascent sense of self, a fragile confidence she'd lacked before. And a friend, a genuine connection, an ocean away. The road ahead appeared vast and uncertain, but for the first time in ages, Lily perceived a shimmer of anticipation, a quiet excitement for possibilities yet unknown. The sunflowers resting on the seat beside her seemed to nod in silent affirmation.